Welcome to a live with video. This is our Video Malaysia's very first Instagram live session. Yeah, so I'm Thasha. I'm going to be moderating the session today. And as you would have seen, we are having a little conversation with Wei Yuen. Wei Yuen is the head of ICAEW Malaysia. So, just gonna give whoever is here a brief. Oh, by the way, yes, I didn't cover this. I am from the audit department. So, guys, I am just gonna give you a brief introduction before I call in the speaker, Wei Yuen, who is already requested to join. So, just a brief idea before we get into it. So, Wei Yuen is the head of ICAEW Malaysia since 2008, actually, and she graduated with a biochemical engineering degree back in 1987 and qualified as an ACA in 1991. So Wei Yuen has done a lot in this past, 13 years with ICAEW Malaysia, where she has increased and nearly more than doubled the membership base here. And she creates a really supportive and vibrant community for all the members and professionals, especially for the students. So it's going to be really fun talking to her, especially for me, to be honest, because I'm really excited. I am an ICAEW student and I'm currently pursuing my final 2 advanced papers. So I've only seen Wei Yuen from a distance because she's quite popular, and this is going to be really fun, engaging. So guys, if you have any questions, just post them and we'll tackle them live, instead of just going through the list that I already have. Yeah, I'm gonna add Wei Yuen here. Hello, hi.
Hello. Hi, Thasha.
Hi, Wei Yuen.
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Not too bad. Very happy that the weekend is just tomorrow.
I know. It's Friday. Yes.
Yes.
You got doing anything good on the weekend?
I think I better be safe and just stay at home for now, right?
Yes. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yes, we're good. I joined a little late, so I had to rush through the introduction, your biography, actually. But
I caught the bit there. So in summary, I'm from the introduction. I'm old and popular. So okay.
I highlight on the popular because you really are. The last first time I met you was 2019, and I spoke to you from a distance. The ICAEW Christmas party before the whole.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So today we have quite training actually, and
Let's get myself sorted.
We're seeing a very engaging session actually, guys. Whoever who's there viewing this live, please feel free to ask any questions you have, which you feel that we have not covered during the question Q&A session that we are having. Any additionals, just go ahead, shoot them, and we'll tackle them live. Yeah. So Wei Yuen, how to get invited to the Christmas party? Hello, you need to be a student or a member. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just heard it word of mouth. Yeah.
Well, on the invited to the Christmas party?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose one of the key thing with ICAEW, or actually with any professional networking, is actually having that platform to network with like-minded people, and especially within the same community. So obviously last year we didn't have because of the pandemic, but we normally have various type of networking platforms, whether it is a more serious type, we talk about the economy and etc., or we can talk about, own development, personal development. We talk about mental health, very different, diverse things that we talk about. And of course, there's a very important element, was the social element. So at the year end, we call it Christmas party, year end party, all the hard work we have, everybody have done throughout the year. It's kind of that small little window that you can relax a little bit, and we get our students, our members to kind of like network and get to, we're all in the same boat. Yeah.
Yeah,
So all members and students are invited. Yeah.
true. And the networking session just comprised of, like you said, everyone who's there, regardless are you a member or just a student. Yeah, it's very engaging, very interactive. So shall we begin with our questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, by the way, I saw one of the most popular questions ever asked. Why choose ICAW over ACCA? So,
You're going to
shall
dive right down to that? Or
I
you want to
think
come to that?
shall we come back to that later? We will answer that question, guys. Of course, very popular question. Wei Yuan's very excited to answer it. All right. So initially, when I introduced you, I stated that you graduated with a biochemical engineering major, and then you qualified as an ACA. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people would be very excited, would be very intrigued to know why. Like, what made you pursue ICW? Would you care to bring that?
Yeah, sure. I get asked a lot as an individual, especially when I'm engaging with students, and they think, actually, not just with the students, seriously, even my parents, they kind of think, actually, more like my mom. She would say, you're an engineer who didn't become an engineer, you're a chartered accountant, and then now I'm not a practicing chartered accountant. But I think the interesting bit is that I think when you are at school, you do what you do best, right? And I think our education is kind of, in a way, it streams you to do certain things, and not many. I think you are one of the rare exceptions, Thasha, that you know what you want to do. But I think majority, if not, we kind of like not sure what we want to study. We study what we think we do best. So
Yeah.
I've always been like a science student. I love biology. I love chemistry. I don't know about physics, but I like certain subjects, and it kind of like geared towards me to certain subjects in university. But I had a mentor. I would call a mentor now, but it's more like a old family friend who's not a lot older than me. He was like 10, 15 years older than me, but he was one of the person that I kind of look up to. He was young, he was an investment banker, he's super smart, etc. And I remember so clearly, and he said, it doesn't matter what you study at university. Those were his exact words, right? It doesn't matter what you study at university, or doesn't matter what you study. But the skills, the knowledge of a business and finance, it's very important. He says it's very important that you must gain a business and finance knowledge and qualification. So this was before I was still in my engineering, and I didn't really think much about it until when I was about to graduate, the final year, and that's when you say, oh, this is it, I got to start working. And that's when you start thinking about your career, what you want to do. I didn't want to be on the oil rig somewhere. I didn't want to be looking at, E. coli growing in some centrifuge or something. So I didn't went, okay, what are my options? And that's how I kind of like went into the business and finance bit. And so a lot of people advise me, if you're going to do a business and finance, this is the one that you should choose. Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite interesting. You can still check out. You can do the more financial aspect of assessing E. coli if you're still interested in that, right? Let's not go there.
But saying that, Tasha, it was applicable in a way after when I was working. Then after I did my audit training, then I went to consulting, and then we had to do this a water treatment plant. And then even though we are not the engineer behind it, we were doing financial modeling around the water treatment plant. And that is something that you are familiar with. We talk about processes, we talk about equipment and stuff. You're familiar with the lingo. So yeah, so indirectly, it is sort of like one cycle.
I honestly feel like that's the beautiful part about business, finance, and accounting, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even in audit, whatever sector you're in, although, yes, I did an accounting, I am from an accounting background, but I am still, what's that word? I don't know the word, but I still am involved in so many different sectors, and I learn so many new things. So it's not solely just focused on one, but rather, a jack of all trades, a master of one.
I think ICW chartered accountants are business and finance professionals.
Yes.
So we advise our clients, right, when people look to chartered accountants to solve problems. So we are the people that can take very complex, we are trained to take complex issue. I mean, you look at all the standards that are required now. And a layman and we're like conduit, right? Whether it is the business, the standards, the tax, or whatever it is, we can analyze and synthesize and understand these issues with an ethical and correct, not conflicted, and you have to do all that bit, and to be able to explain that to your client, and that's what our main role. So you're absolutely right. I think that depending on the business and the exposure as part of your training, right, the kind of like a range of businesses that you get exposed to, from plantation to manufacturing to tech to financial institutions, you get the whole range of experience. And that's where you get the business experience in there.
The diversity is not just in the subjects, but rather everything that you work on later on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So we will proceed with our next question. And okay, so please tell us, is there anything new brewing in ICAEW? Anything up that we
Yeah,
should?
lots of things brewing. Number one, my tea is brewing. So I'm really into this mulberry tea, so I'm brewing that. It takes some time to brew. No, but seriously, in terms of what's with ICAEW, because as a professional body, we are continuously have to remain relevant to the business world, really, because otherwise you get left behind. So what is new? I think very importantly, like now, in fact, I think next week, that will be our next ACA professional exams, where the data analytics is incorporated into our exams. So yeah, it is something that we cannot run away from, right? I mean, the change of technology, the progression of digital, etc., etc. So there are kind of like two things. One, it is our students who are being trained currently. So we always have consultation. Every year we consult with the employers. What is it they're looking for? What is it they need? And then our syllabus is kind of like updated on an annual basis. And to make sure that whoever studies it is of the current issue, not studying something that is not applicable anymore. So it is coming something very current. And then you got another category where it was more important is our members, people like myself who have qualified. Okay, like you say, a long time ago, almost 30 years ago that we qualified. But we have to remain relevant in what you are doing today. Doesn't matter what role you're playing, yet you must be relevant in your role. So you need to be updated all the time. So that's what ICAEW does to make sure that we have courses, what we call CPD, continuous professional development, to make sure our members, doesn't matter which career platform they're in, that they are fully equipped to the best of the way to perform their work. Yeah. So tech is something that is important at the moment. Yeah.
The entire, ICAEW taking a whole ethical approach as compared to like the GAP, which goes on a rule-based approach. One of the fundamental ethical code is competence and due care, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that by itself, just that 5 codes instills everything that you need to know. And it says, staying up, being relevant with current times is just one of it. It's right there. Yeah. It's good to see because, like you mentioned, no matter when you're doing it or what paper you're doing, it is always up to par with the current state of the world or what is needed globally in the financial world, in the business.
Absolutely. Yep. What are the hot topics we are talking about? It matters to the business.
Yes. Even the magazines that come out every month from Kaba, the support, as well as ICAEW. Even if you're a member or a student, you can always find something relevant that teaches you something new and something related to what you are currently doing. So I think
which is your favorite part of the magazine?
I think the joke section at the back. Sometimes.
Do I dare to admit it's a disciplinary section for me?
Oh.
Yeah, it's because it's I think it's also a reminder that ICAEW is not just about exams. We are also a regulator. So what it means to a member is to the general public is that we as in the member are also regulated by ICAEW to make sure that we perform in the highest standard, whether it's ethical or professional standard, etc. covers. And yeah, so it is actually to me, it's quite interesting to look at it. Just like a newspaper, I'm very morbid. I look at the obituary section. Yes. I'll not go there.
Right now. Yeah, going back to the regulatory bodies, right? I even noticed, now having the whole Money Laundering Act very actively involved in all of our lives. ICAEW is very actively again working with AMLA and CTF and ensuring that all of those are in place as well. So coming back to the whole regulatory work it's doing, yeah. Yes.
I think that is the interesting bit about the chartered accountant, right? When you are trained, when you do after your training, and there's so many, we always share that this is like like a master key, really, that you can open many different doors. It's not that, you not just one key for one door, but you have a master key that you can open different doors. And you mentioned you can go into the regulatory role. So we got people who are even like our senior members in like in Malaysia, we've got lots of members across. The current chairman of, say, the Audit Oversight Board that regulates all the accountants. So he's an ICAEW member. So he's in the regulatory bit. Then you've got people who are in the practice, of course, right? The majority, some of them, our member, whether when you finish chartered accountancy, you want to remain in practice. I mean, so like in BDO, the business units, as they call it, right, across.
Yes.
Whether you want to do audit, you do tech, so many, but maybe you can share to some of our audience here later. And there's people like me who has left the financial profession that goes into business. So it's kind of like, many paths. So I noticed that the promo is like the path of which professional body to choose. Then later on, that even after you have chose, then which career path you want to choose. I think all these are very important because there's never a straight road. Even like from you to go from your home to the office is, different roads that you can take. There are many different areas. So you want to make sure that, you are in a position that you can choose. You have the option to choose and you're equipped to do the best in whatever route that you take. Or in Malaysia, some of the American pronunciation, what route you take, but I use route.
Nice. Works with the road as well. The whole crossroad. I see one question here from Anna, and we'll tackle the ICAEW and ACCA question for later. I think that one would be quite lengthy and more in depth.
Yeah, I think it's like as we are talking, I think people will kind of like cover because it's never one answer, So yeah, but yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
So Aina has a question here. If I finish this certificate and I work as an internal auditor instead of an external auditor, can I still become a chartered accountant?
Well, absolutely. It is something that I just covered, like, kind of like maybe I jumped the question a little bit because, like I mentioned, after when you qualify, in fact, when you are training to be a chartered accountant, you can train in professional firms, you can train in business, as long as they are business and finance related. And they must be an ICAEW chartered, ICAEW authorized training employer. There's a structured training. And that's the beauty of ICAEW training. It's quite, in a way, it's structured because it allows a certain standard that's across to all members. And after when the question here is when you finish, what do you want to do? Again, it's a business finance qualification. Like I mentioned, you can be a regulator, you can be you can remain in practice, you can be an auditor, you can be a tax consultant, internal audit, or in the business and finance world. We got people who are in the startup, we got people in the broadcast, we have people across charity, lots of different options. Yeah.
World is basically your oyster.
Absolutely.
And ICAEW is also very much involved with not-for-profit organizations as well, right? I've noticed that there are a lot of resources and material how to work with an NFP as a CA.
Yeah.
So a very good sign of how diverse the professional qualification is, actually. Yeah. So, oh, wow, we have another question here. As a
Mm.
Malaysian who wants to work in Malaysia and not
Mm-hmm.
planning to work overseas,
Mm-hmm.
which is the most suitable choice for me? Guys, ICAEW session, hello. Yeah. So,
um, I suppose I think in life you don't know where you're gonna be. You know, I think it's something that I find it kind of like interesting if you at this, I don't know how old the person is or whatever, that you can't decide that you will never go overseas, or you know, you don't know. You think you may, but life is all about taking the different options if it's available. In my previous job and many of my experience with different people that I've met, and it's always become, you know, kind of like ingrained in there that, you know, it's like a passport, right? You don't want to go somewhere and they say, oh, you need a visa, you can't get in, you can't go to this country, you can't go here. You don't want to be put in a position. So number one, I don't think you should, if I assume this is someone a younger person, I think the decision is getting something that would support and help you, whether you work in Malaysia or not, something that is recognized and very transportable. That's just a paper qualification, yeah? I mean, let's say the paper qualification, you know, that helps you, that it gets recognized wherever you go. There's nothing worse to go through a qualification and then suddenly say, oh, sorry, it's not good enough. So it must be so demoralizing because, you know, we're talking about the work, effort, and everything that's put in. So, you know, ICAEW, of course, is an international body. We are 140 over years old. We got members across, you know, 200 countries. We, in fact, certain key global markets, we have reciprocal arrangement with them. Basically, like our neighbors up north in Hong Kong, down south in Singapore, you know, countries around here. What it means, recognition, it's not just, it's recognized, but recognized by the local professional body. That's important because if I'm going to be in practice, I want to make sure that it is recognized in some of the countries that we want to go to. And again, I think it is important for people to look into that, not to limit themselves. There's never a right or wrong. When I went overseas, quite a young age, about before the Form 3 exams, whatever you call
I'm
it.
doing now already.
So that was very, very long time ago. I lived, by the time I came back to Malaysia, I actually lived in UK longer than I lived in Malaysia. But of course now it's different. Yeah, I've been home for over 20 over years. I didn't know then that I was going over. I didn't know that I was coming home. You don't know at a certain stage. So I think the advice will be to do something that will be internationally recognized, whether here or there, that's paper. And the second bit is to make sure that you have a lot of those transferable skills that you can take with you with whatever career that it takes you.
Understood. Yeah, I think more not we solely focus on what qualification we are doing, which university we are going to. It's about recognition. But at the end of the day, we tend to forget that for the next 40 years of our life, we're going to be working. And after a point, whatever degree or cert you have is a contribution experience you're going to gain when you're working.
Yeah,
So like
absolutely.
it's what industry you're into, and never put yourself in a box and say, no, I'm only going to stay in this box.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another question, because I'm actually quite curious. Like, for instance, if you were to go to Australia, there's ICAA, right?
They've merged now and they call CANZ, the Chartered
So,
Accountant Australia and New Zealand. Yep.
right, okay. So, assuming I were to move to Australia to work, to get certified under ICANZ, or can I just stick with my ICAW?
We have a mutual recognition with CANZ. We are part of the Chartered Accountants Worldwide grouping. So what it means is that the chartered bodies, whether the England and Wales, the Irish, the Scottish, the New Zealand, the South African. So these are there's 1.8 million of, can you imagine, 1.8 million of members of, we are all chartered accountants worldwide, and it gives the kind of support that you would extend it to. And with CANZ, basically you can apply to be a member of CANZ. CANZ members can apply to be ICAEW as well because we have the mutual recognition. And yeah, so that answers your question. And there's a list of countries that they have as well. Like I mentioned, even like, whether it's Hong Kong or neighboring, we also have that, which means without any additional more exams. I think that's quite important, to understand that bit there, yeah.
So even if the regulations are different in that country, like assuming the legal regulations are different, the tax regulations are different, how do I have to sit for a paper based on that, or can I?
Yeah, so I think when you belong to a membership body, I think, like I said, there are many different roles. If you want to be in the audit where you sign audit report in a way, then you probably need to do the addition, you would want to make, it goes back to the ethical bit, right? We talk about you would not want to put yourself forward if you are not qualified or trained or the knowledge to do certain job. So when we as an individual, right, when we part of the exams that you do, whether it is the law, the principles of law are taught, you can actually apply. Same as with tax, the principle of that is applied, that you should be able to, and if you go into a country that very specific, then it's better for you to just make sure that you top up and your understanding. But if you're not doing in any of these areas where you are just in the business side and, or other bit that is the non-regulated, then you're supported by the local professional body. Yeah.
Understood. Relates to the entire ethical approach that ICAEW takes.
Absolutely.
Of course. So we have a question here, another one. What if firms do not allow us to take exams because ICAEW requires us to work and take advanced papers at the same time? How do we answer that?
So you're saying that the firms that they are working do not allow them time off to take exams?
Yes.
Or they don't allow them to take exams. So number one, I assume that they have to make sure that they go into, or when they apply for a job, it has to be an ICAEW authorized training employer. So there's a list of training standards that we have an understanding with our authorized training employer. That's the training standard. But how they train, as in like how much time off they give them and what kind of support that they give them, is really depending on the company that you join. So we always advise, and when we go to talk to our authorized training employers, that we tell them what are the challenges, what we need, we actually explain to them. And if you are at a position, the student, as it's like a two-way thing, you would select the company that will perversely give you the support. And from the other side, from the employers, most of them work, the active authorized training employers, when you want to attract the best talent onto the organization, they also need to be competitive. They also know who gives what kind of support that they have, and students have the decision to make and what suits them best.
Yeah, I think as BDO is also under the ATE list, we can see that support. I think regardless of me doing the ICAEW or my colleague with an HCCA or a CPA Australia, the support is there. They give us the leaves, the study leaves, and beautiful part is we do not have to worry about classes because everything is planned. HR has the schedule. They are so up to date with the tuition providers. So everything planned out. Our study leaves are planned. We get paid. The contract covers the resources. Contracts covers tuition fees, memberships as well. The annual memberships are covered. And yeah, I guess like you mentioned, working with an ATE to be
so
by itself.
That's right.
Meet your
So if the person who asked the question, if it is an ICAEW student, my advice is that if she or he is not an ICAEW student and interested in looking for that, ICAEW authorized training employers, like I said, we talk to them and normally they would extend the kind of support for the training bit. If the person who asked the question is an ICAEW student, And if there's any, queries, we have a local office, and we have my colleagues, we have a constant engagement with employers that we talk to them, and, and we have a lot of support system across. So even when you are a student, we have a student network. So it's like all your peers. So within that community that you can actually share, there's support. When you're a member, we also have a member network that helps, to support the membership. And of course, we have the local office to help you in whatever challenges that, any issues that you have as well.
Yeah, understood. Yes. That also is with the, have ICAEW's 6 month reviews, the ethical reviews that we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even as a student, sometimes I'm not going to lie to you, HR chases me because I don't fill up my training file. And that's because ICAEW by itself is making sure that the ATEs have their students up to date, have their files up to date. Everything is just done according to the designated time frame. So
yeah. So you're absolutely right. Sometimes it's part of your training, right? So we are being trained for a lot of transferable skills that we may not even be aware of at that time. So why we have the six monthly review and the training development, you must fill up your work experience. You must reflect on what you have done. These are all part of your development to make sure that, because as a member or when you're a leader, you cannot wait for somebody to tell you what to do. You have to take the initiative to make sure that you are prepared for your meetings, for example. So this is like your 6 monthly review. Before you go into a meeting, I'm sure you will reflect a little bit what needs to be done. You get prepared stuff. So this is all whole part and parcel when I mentioned earlier a structured training. Yeah. So because to be a ICAEW chartered accountant, the exams is only one portion of it. Yeah, the exams is only one portion. So I always call it as 2 pillars. One is the exams, and one is the work experience portion. And within the work experience, you must make sure you have that. You go through the ethical training. You make sure you have their 6 monthly review with your mentor, and you get the right work experience. When you have all these elements together, then you apply for the membership of ICAEW.
The blocks, they have that blocks of different 52 principles to cover during the 3-year training contract. Yeah. We have another question here.
Mm-hmm.
I already have ACCA. Is it advised to take ICAEW or can stick with my ACCA?
I think it's a personal choice to be very, because like I say, as a professional chartered accountant, we are trained to be to give the advice, to be impartial. So of course now, if I put on, we have to look at what's best for the person. So I don't believe in telling people you must take this, and there isn't a right one for each other, for everyone. Of course, my colleague here will, I'm sure he's online, not ideal. But I think there is obviously, we have a lot of people, whether they are from, when they didn't get the opportunity when they first do another professional qualification. Because like you mentioned, ICAEW has only been in Malaysia since 2005, which was about 13, 15 years in Malaysia. Before that, everybody has to be in the UK, they train in the UK, qualified there before they come back. There is a small window, but anyway, that we could train, but effectively the active training only started 12, 13, 15 years ago. So there are some people who may not be aware, and so they may have embarked in a route to have taken ACCA or other professional qualification. But what we're saying is that there are options for them, because when they finish their qualification, they can, there are certain papers they need to top up, where our advanced stage papers is very much the integration of different elements. Because at work is exactly that. You don't look at just one section, right? I mean, let's say you do audit. There's always the implication. There's a text bit. You need to look at it. You need to look at the financial reporting. You look at, even like now, we talk about the non-technical bit. We talk about corporate reporting. We talk about sustainability. The whole issues about all those is all part and parcel of it. So I find that ICAEW, we are well placed to develop our students to that level. There are some people, which we do get quite a lot of members from other professional body who are interested. So depending on what level they are, they can either top up with some of the papers to complete that, or we have some of them are members of already like a 5 years, like a senior member. They can also apply through a different pathways. Yeah.
Right, so it's accessible to everyone regardless of what background and how many years of experience you have.
Absolutely.
Right.
Or depending on the professional body, yeah.
Okay. Is there any particular criteria to become an ACA student?
Let me think. I think under the regulation bit, right? So under the Companies Act, this is the UK Companies Act, you need to have the academic qualification will be 2 A levels, 3 O levels. That means 2 STPM equivalent and 3 SPM equivalent as an entry requirement, or a successful completion of CFAP, the certificate level paper.
Okay.
So the qualification is, as a professional body, we believe very strongly about the diversity of the people, or rather the members that we have. Because you see, you can't just have, even like in business, if you have everybody the same background, the same everything, you look at the issue, you will only look at it at one lens. So the professional body has always been open. I mean, we're talking about 140 years. It's always been an open profession. Anybody who can pass through our exams, have gone through our training, can be an ICAEW member. So I think, like you say, that's why when you have school leavers, if you have Form 5 school leavers, whether you're a Form 6 school leavers, or even you have no qualification at all, there are different routes to take. It's never just one route. There are different entry points. Diploma holder, non-accounting graduates, accounting graduates, it's really literally open for everyone.
So prior to continuing, there are 3 levels, right? The CFAP, certificate level, professional, and commencing the professional level, there are no requirements to begin the certificate level, right?
That's right. I mean, the ACA is the certificate professional and advanced level. The CFAP, certificate in finance, accounting, and business, is also a standalone qualification. So it depending where you are, you can actually come in, whether, like I say, if you don't have under the Companies Act requirement is the A levels and the 3 O levels, that's your minimum. So you will go in straight and roll into the ACA program. And depending on the degree that you have taken, we as in the Institute will not ask you to do things again, right? So if you've got accounting and finance students that at a degree where they have mapped the same learning outcome, we will give you what we call credit for prior learning. So then they can get certain exemptions and go in straight into do the balance. If you're a non-accounting student where you don't get any exemptions, so you will do the full paper. If you are someone from the other professional body, you will look at what is the difference, and then you can actually top up the balancing on the paper. So I think it's very much the principle behind it is that it is an open qualification for anybody who can once they meet the criteria, they become a member. We don't block from, the barrier is not from the beginning. So the only thing is you make sure that you have a good employer who is an authorized training employer to make sure that they provide you with the relevant work experience for you to qualify, to gain the relevant work experience and the professional development for you to be able to do higher level type of work.
Okay, understood. If I were to be interested to find out the list of ATEs in Malaysia, how may I proceed to get that list?
So my colleague, I'm sure, I'm thinking they may hear, they can type in their email address and they can actually come and contact ICAEW. It's Malaysia@ICAEW.com. That would be a general line that they can actually email and any queries.
Okay, that's great. That sounds good. Shall we are running out of time. I'm so sorry. Shall we cover one last question and
The
then...
big question.
Yes, let's do it.
The big question. Well, I think there are many, many ways of answering that. What's the difference between ICAEW and other professional bodies? Like, let's single out other professional bodies. There are many different ways. I don't know who is in the audience. So if you look at it from, say, the bigger picture, or maybe I start at the when you're still at university and you're looking at the profession. You would want to look at what kind of route that you want to get to. Number one, you have to select something that you are comfortable with, that you can do. So when people ask me that question a lot when I go in, and I usually ask them, are you a second upper class or around 3 point something, right? Second upper class graduate. Let's say if we talk about graduate first, yeah? And if they say yes, and I said, well, why are you even looking for anything else, that this should be what you should be looking at? And if you are kind of like a borderline type, like a second, what we call a 2-2, right? I said more so that you should be looking at something that will kind of like prop you up, kind of like to support you in that sense. Because if you then look at our membership body, you look at who our members are, and you have people that are very high in their career ladder. So if you aspire to be there, they must be doing something right? So you obviously look at them as role model. So of course we have some people say, oh, I don't really want to be, the head or whatever, the responsibility is too much or whatever it is. But we also have people who are quite, be able to do their role. So in different areas that they're working in. So I think that's quite important for them. You look at who our membership base is, look at what they are doing. And I think the aspiration, that is very important. And I know when people always ask that, we say, okay, so who are they? Because, who are these members, right? So I said, okay, you look at the leadership bit, right? So even like, say, we talk about, just now we mentioned the regulator. So we have the chairman of the Audit Oversight Board, that's our member. Of course, we also have our members working in there, not the head, but we also have the head in there. If you look at the corporate sector, the chairman of, say, a big telecommunication, like Maxis and different areas, those are our member as well. So Rajat Shah is our member. Actually, he was my chairman when I was training. So you can see people and where they are. So we talk about accounting firm, right? The top 5 accounting firm in Malaysia. Look at who the managing partner are. BDO's managing partner, Datuk is our ICAEW member, and he's also our council member for ICAEW. And there are many partners that are also ICAEW members as well. So that's just in Malaysia, yeah? So we also, let's say in the UK, for example, we have actually done a statistics in terms of looking at the top, what we call the FTSE 100, the top biggest 100 listed companies in the UK stock exchange. And we are saying that more than 75%, because obviously the percentage changes, yeah? 75 and 78% of the top 100 listed companies in the London Stock Exchange, FTSE 100, would have an ICAEW member on its board. Then we look at the leadership bit, like the CEO bit, it's 1 in 4. So
Coverage, even in the top 100 global companies, around 98 companies have ICAEW members employed in their board. Yeah.
So it's like when you're in class, right? When most of our students will say that when you work in, from all your primary school to secondary school, you strive to be in the top class.
Yeah.
So why stop? Why stop when finished? Just continue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As we see.
So I hope that answered the questions in terms of the difference between us and different professional body. It is, I always say objectively, all professional bodies are professional bodies. Same like universities, right? Same as school. why people choose one school over the other. Some people, they can go in, they can afford it. Some people can't. There are many reasons, but ICW is an open. We are not, we don't have that barrier. In fact, we actually do a lot of work to encourage the diversity. My colleague works with the different universities in Malaysia where we look at the disadvantaged in a way. So we call it an advantage award to make sure that, the social mobility is very high on our agenda, to make sure that we have that diversity, and we encourage anyone who can, they should. Yeah.
Whatever, like you mentioned one time, whatever that fulfills your objective, whatever that you find you can reap benefits out of it, go for it, regardless of what qualification it is. Because at the end of the day, it is a paper qualification. It comes down to how much you're contributing to your experience and the community and whatever field that you're engaged in, right?
Yeah, I guess the paper qualifications need 3-4 years of your training, like, right?
The rest of membership as a member itself.
Yeah, it's the next 30-40 years of your working life.
Yeah. So I guess that covers it. I am 15 minutes overboard. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Taking lunchtime. I guess we don't have any other questions coming in.
So there are some lists of my colleagues have put in their email address there. So if they have any further questions, please feel free to write to us, write to you, write to BDO, as one of the authorized training employer, the other bits are more like what kind of support they give, etc. So, if they have any other questions, please feel free to write and find out more.
Yeah, definitely, guys. If you are interested in furthering a professional qualification, regardless of what it is, you can always drop an email at jobs@bdo.com and jobs@bdo.my. And, send in your resume, your cover letter. You do have to be in audit to further professional qualification.
Yeah, Thasha, there's one question in there. I don't know whether you have 2 minutes. It's a very good question. Asking about, I think the one just popped out. It says that, will accountants, the big question that everybody talks from the World Economic Forum type, accountants will be replaced by machines.
Oof, that's painful. Care to answer that, Wei Yuen? It's all yours. Floor's yours.
Right. I think the answer is inevitable. It will be replaced. What we believe, whatever can be automated will be automated, right? So it is, on one hand, the World Economic Forum, it didn't work well for the profession. They put the accountant they put as to be one of the declining jobs, etc. But we all recognize the word accountant is very wide. We admit, I think, where we're already seeing it now, that if, we talk about the kind of things that data entry type, it's automated. So the bookkeepers, definitely, I think it will be replaced. But that's why having, earlier when we talk about the next 30-40 years in your career, we talk about that because it's something that you say is so far away, but it is important to look at that, right? And that's why what ICAEW does is to make sure our members are not in that category. I know we hear things like, ICAEW exams are difficult and, whatever it is, there's no, sometimes it could be that when people say that, but whatever that is, I think is easy, it will be replaced. That is easily replaced. So what we have done is to make sure that we train people with the skills that you are able to analyze, you are able to synthesize, right? You're able to present the human bit behind it. The computer or even machine, they can churn out whatever it is. You will still need the human to present it, to explain it, that the whole other bit in there. So even when we introduce the data analytics exams in our exams from next month on, from next week onwards, it is not about churning a whole set of data. Anybody can do that. It's explaining what it means and actually having that. So I think it's very important. Accountants, there will be different roles that we play. I feel it will not be displaced. It will be displaced if we remain as a bookkeeper type. And we have ICAEW started off 140 years probably from the need of that, just recording, and where we are now. And I think it's very important that we make sure that the professional body, to make sure it supports you in the journey. It's anybody's guess what we need to in the next 10 years, 15 years, but we know it is happening. It's a continuous evolution.
True. I personally believe that is to help us work more efficiently, to make technology work for us. So I think the beautiful part about ICAEW is that it says, what are accountants going to do? They want to build stronger economies. And the way you build stronger economies is to analyze using this data analytics and technology, bringing into it the human touch, and then presenting it, which is something AI could never do, because at the end of the day, it doesn't have a brain of its own.
It's also the judgment. And of course, now if you look at applying it now, maybe they said, okay, machine learning will be able to do that. But it is a judgment, the ethical judgment.
Yes.
That is also something that it is. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in X number of years, you watch some of these movies. They always said they would take over, they can do all sorts of stuff. But when it comes to that judgment call, it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Professional judgment, another one of the ethical codes, right?
Yeah. Professional judgment, professional skepticism. These are all the things that is part of that training that you go through. It doesn't mean that after 3 years it finishes. It is a continuous. I hope to answer that question. There was a good question, AWY.
AWY _00. Yes. Hope you answered your question there. So I don't think we should cut the session short.
Yeah.
Yuen. Actually,
Yes.
Thank you very, very much for this insightful session.
Thank you for having me. I hope it has been useful. Like I said, these, write to BDO, write to ICAEW, write to us or call us, pick up the phone sometimes. It's also fine.
Just call the hotline, guys. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
So anyway, trust that everyone had a very, very insightful session, guys. I hope you learned about ICAEW and what it can contribute to whichever qualification you plan to pursue. Even if it's not ICAEW, it's not bad to learn about the rest that are out there. So, Wei Yuen, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was fun, and I hope everyone have a good weekend.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.